The 2024 Oscar ceremony is in a couple hours. And when I mean a couple hours, I mean it is currently 12 a.m. in the morning as I am filming this script. That is not a joke. So I decided it was a great idea to cram in all of my opinions about every single Oscar movie that I watched into a 20-minute or so long video. Welcome to Recency Bias. I'm your host, Liles Jackson, and I watch a lot of media and play a lot of games. And that's the entire point of this channel, so I can talk about all that random stuff. This time being the Oscars. I'm ranking these Oscar movies based on how much I would want to rewatch them. There are like a quadrillion different ways you can rank all these movies, but I was like, would I watch this movie again? So that's my ranking. If you have another ranking, make your own video. Anyways, we have like 23 movies to rank, so let's just get into it. Number 1, Indiana Jones. Why is this movie here? I'm sorry. What? I know it's John Williams' last score, which is why it got nominated. But like, this movie is significantly outdone by other things we'll talk about later. This movie is the worst in the series, and that's saying something. We have Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We don't need to talk about that movie. That movie can't stop it. Bad. This is the worst movie in the trilogy. 4 movies. I don't know why it's here. I'm sorry. I did not enjoy this movie. I would like maybe watch this movie with a friend group. Maybe. El Capitano. This movie looked fine. No, it looked great, actually. It was nominated for Best Cinematography for a reason. But like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought this story was interesting. I thought the idea of an old vampire having to deal with his money grubbing and the wanting of his power, I thought him having to deal with that was interesting. But it just didn't really keep my interest after like an hour and a half, and I just kind of turned it off. This is the only movie of all of the movies that I watched that I was just like, I don't want to. To be fair, this is coming up on the end of it, but still, this is a movie, I'm not interested in finishing this movie. Maybe one day in like 20 years, but like, I'm just not interested. Rustin is the first biopic I watched for this binge, and it definitely won't be the last one. We're talking about a lot of biopics here. I'm sorry, but Rustin was actually pretty interesting. It's talking about a civil rights figure from the early to late 60s, and I really enjoyed it. I thought this gave me a new perspective on something I don't know much about and would like to know more about. It's pretty fine. Its shots don't look terrible. I think his acting was pretty good. There's a reason the main guy got a nomination. He's not going to win, but I think this is a solid movie that I would like watch with a friend. I might fall asleep, but I'll watch it with a friend. Godzilla -1. Now, I think you know what Godzilla is. And if you're going to watch a Godzilla movie, you're not there to learn about the character drama. And this movie knows that. Yeah, there's some character stuff because they have to move the story along in some way or another, but like, it's not the main focus, although it kind of is sometimes. I was just here to get a cool Godzilla experience. And as Toho's first time ever using CGI to animate Godzilla, this movie is good. I really enjoyed it. This movie is just a good brain rot movie where like, I want to see a Tokyo get destroyed. This is what I mean, it's not Tokyo, but this is what you watch. I would watch this movie every once in a while. This is just a good, fun, brain rot movie. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This is a good Marvel project. I didn't know they could do that anymore, but it's James Gunn, and we love James Gunn here. James Gunn is fantastic. He was really good. I think this movie is the best of the trilogy, and I think if it was me 2.5 years ago, this movie would be like my every other week list. But I'm kind of tired of these kind of superhero movies. I'll be excited for DC and their stuff, but I don't know, I'm just tired of superhero movies recently. So I would watch this with a friend if they had never seen this trilogy. I would watch these movies with them, but I'm just tired. I mean, right now, I would watch it with a friend. May December was the third I guess it's kind of not a biopic. It's more of a reinterpreting of a story, and it's actually really interesting. This movie like kind of changed what I've been watching so far. It's very rich in its character complexity. If you're watching this movie to go and like one of the characters, there's one of the characters that you might like, but it's not that kind of movie. Every character here is complex, and that adds to the story. And there's a lot of things that don't wrap up neatly. It lets your brain think about it a little later on. And I enjoyed that, but I wouldn't watch it alone again. I would have to watch this movie with a friend because I need to talk about it with them. And that doesn't go. There's a lot of movies that on this list I'll watch with a friend just because I need to digest them with someone else. Nimona was significantly better than I had expected. After watching Spider-Verse and The Boy and the Heron, I was like, okay, the Spider-Verse is gonna win. Nimona is gonna be good, maybe. It's a kid's movie, I'm not gonna enjoy it. I disregarded it too quickly. I forget Spider-Verse is also rated PG. I really enjoyed Nimona. Its art style is fun. I love the little riffs it did on Spider-Verse, and I think it was just a good, fun story. And it had some emotional complexity. Like, the characters aren't May December complex, but it's just a nice movie. This is a good movie. If you just want to have like a happy night and just want to like feel good, this is the movie to watch. Also, Eugene is here. I would watch this movie like every other week. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and The Boy and the Heron. I saw these movies a collective total of 10 times. I saw Spider-Verse 7 times in theaters. I saw The Boy and the Heron 3 times. By the end of my Spider-Verse run, I could quote it line for line. I am not kidding you. I love these two movies. These two movies were my most anticipated films of the year, and they are probably my 2 favorite films of the year. I am hurt emotionally that these movies only got 1 Oscar nomination. Both of their scores are infinitely better than the Indiana Jones score. And also, this is just a little floaty idea. I think we should add some more things for animated films. A voice actor is never going to win an Oscar for Best Actor. I think we just need some more stuff for this. I love these 2 movies. I wish they got more of the spotlight. It didn't just get 1 Oscar each. That's actually crazy to me. I love these 2 movies. I'm gonna make a video on them soon, so I'm not gonna talk about them forever, but God, I love these movies. Go watch them. These movies I will watch any day of the week. I'm probably gonna finish this video at 12 p.m. at night, mind you, and I'm gonna go watch this. The Creator is a movie that is visually and audibly fantastic. Its story, on the other hand, is pretty basic. There are some moments which I really like. There are some moments that I've thought about to this day that I think are genuinely fantastic. But Gareth Edwards is a great at realistic and CGI and mixing them together to make something look great. And this movie does that great. But it's not great in character complexity. This is just, again, another brain rot movie. Although it tries to not be a brain rot movie, which is kind of its problem. So I would watch this movie every once in a while, and I would definitely watch this movie with a friend. Dead Reckoning. How many of the Mission Impossible movies are there? I'm not gonna check because they're not my favorite movies, but like, there's a good bit. To be honest, I prefer the last one more than I prefer like this movie. And, you know, good for Tom Cruise. One of his movies is getting an Oscar nomination. But this movie is I just talked about The Creator. This movie is outdone by The Creator in every way. I mean, stunt-wise, this movie does cooler stuff. But The Creator, that movie was filmed on like a $2,000 budget film camera. That's some cool shit. I prefer The Creator to this. This movie I would like watch with a friend. Definitely with a friend group, but mostly with a friend. Society of the Snow. When I heard this title, I was like, oh, it's probably about people in a plane crash. And guess what? I was right. But it doesn't matter. This movie actually does really cool things. I kind of started to like a lot of these characters, especially in the very beginning. And then it's like, oh, guess what? Half of them are dead. And you're like, what? Pardon me? But no, I really enjoyed this movie. This movie is a great just triumph to watch. These people just try and survive out in this not wasteland, but in the mountains, in the snow. This is cool. This is fun. I would like watch this movie every once in a while just to feel some triumph. Nyad. This is another biopic, and it's a sport movie. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like sport movies unless I'm into sport, which was like one time, and that movie wasn't that great either. It was fine, but like I don't like sport movies and biopics. I'm sorry. I just. It's good. I think I liked Annette Bening and I liked the other lady whose name I'm forgetting, but they both Jodie Foster. I like both of them in this. I think both of them did a good job. But Oscars, no, they're not getting Oscars for this. This movie is fine. If you like sport movies, this is a solid one to add to the list. But like, I would have to watch this movie with like a group of swimmer friends. Past Lives almost made me cry. Like it got me right on the edge. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie, when you're watching it, you're like, oh, it's gonna be a love story. And then you realize, oh, they're making this look like a love story, but they're kind of like changing some things, and it does tropes differently than other things. And I just really enjoyed this movie. I wish it had gotten more Oscars, but also, 2 is pretty cool. This is a definite watch. This is like, I would watch this movie once a week. I will probably watch this movie on my 12-hour trip tomorrow. I really enjoyed this movie. This is definitely, you should go watch this. The Zone of Interest. Remember how I talked about movies you need to digest with a friend? That's this movie. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really well directed, and the contrast of like these modern German families to Auschwitz is crazy, and I really enjoyed it. But also, what? The ending? Do you want to watch it? Me and you want to watch it with me? Because we need to talk about that ending. This is a movie I will watch with a friend or a friend group. So I need to talk about this with someone. I'm so confused. What? American Fiction. This movie definitely exceeded my expectations. I've been told it was like in the running for Best Picture, along with Oppenheimer and The Holdovers, and I was a little bit hesitant, but I watched this and I completely understand. I think the concept of somebody making something they absolutely hate and then trying to destroy it because it does so well is such an interesting concept. And both the acting of Sterling K. Brown and Jeffrey Wright, they're just like a cherry on top. I love the contradiction of, again, he's trying to create this story that he hates, but also his life is one of the stories of one of his books. It's just a normal life. This movie made me a little happy. It made me sad, it made me happy, and I like the ending. And I think this is a movie I would watch like every week or so. This is just a good, mellow movie it can be hilarious at times, but it also has a heartwarming story. Anatomy of a Fall. Who knew you could get dogs and kids to act? I know Sandra Hüller got a nomination for this, but I was really surprised by how well her kid and the dog were in this movie. I also really enjoyed the constant questioning you're doing of all the characters here. Once again, they're all just a little bit more complex than you think they are at the surface. And that's the whole point of the movie. It's a court case, and so you're just learning about the complexities of these characters. And I really enjoyed that. And I think this movie, again, is fantastic. It's amazingly structured, it's amazingly written, it's amazingly acted, but like, it didn't really stand out to me or didn't give me an emotional reaction in the end. But what did get me was this kid. I was genuinely surprised at how much I enjoyed his acting. And at one point he gives a speech in this movie later on, I'm not going to spoil it. It was just genuinely, you understood where this kid was coming from, and you understood how he got to this realization. I really enjoyed this guy. And again, this movie is fantastic in every way, but what gave me truly an emotional reaction was this guy. And this is a movie I would, again, digest with a friend. I wouldn't watch this on a consistent basis, but I would watch this movie with a friend. The Holdovers is the last movie I watched on this list, and it was a good movie to end with. Once again, this movie exceeded all my expectations. When I originally saw the trailers for this, you could have told me that it was from like 40 years ago. If it weren't for the high quality image that they just kind of grained over and I could kind of tell. But I still thought the trailer looked fantastic. And finally watching this after like months of waiting was so cool. I loved Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti in this movie is able to convey his characters to such a depth of nuance. As to the other performances, I think everybody was, again, doing fantastic here. The main kid, although he had some moments where I was a little, I still really enjoyed him. The moments like where he relates to Paul Giamatti. There are moments where he just has he interacts with other characters and you get to know a little bit more about him. I really enjoyed that. But I did not enjoy him as much as I enjoyed Divine Joy Randolph. I hope that's how you pronounce her name. I really hope this girl gets the Oscar. She is fantastic in this movie. I know there's some other fantastic people in this category, but I really want her to get this. This was a great role. And overall, this is a great movie. This is a movie I would watch every other day. I would watch this movie on a consistent basis. I really enjoyed this film. You should totally go watch it. Maestro. We all know Maestro was Oscar bait, right? I mean, to be fair, it was good Oscar bait. It did what it needed to. It looked good. It was well acted. It was well written. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just I went into this movie knowing it was Oscar bait, and again, it was great it was pretty good on every front. But I don't want it to really win that much. There's nothing that I was like, oh, this did better than anything else. I just think it did pretty good in everything. And again, cinematography, fantastic. I would be okay if it won that. Best actor, no. I also really enjoyed Carey Mulligan here. Once again, I don't think she'll get the Oscar, but you know, I don't know. I really hope Lily Gladstone we'll get to Lily Gladstone in a minute. But I enjoyed this film. I thought it was good Oscar bait, and I hope one day Brad gets his Oscar, but it's for something he talks about significantly less and apparently doesn't learn how to do an entirely new skill just so he can do a performance correctly. Killers of the Flower Moon was long. Holy shit, it was long. Like, I took 3 days to watch this movie. Mind you, every other movie I either watched just in one night or I didn't finish, which was one other movie. But this movie took me 3 days. I mean, it's good. It's a good movie. It's again, all the characters are complex, and I think the story was really interesting. But like, when you haven't had a career as long as Martin Scorsese, kill myself. When you've had a career as long as him and you've done as well as him, I mean, fair enough. You get to make kind of whatever you want, right? So while I think this movie is overly long, I think it's shot very nicely. All the acting is very good. Lily Gladstone, 1 second. All the acting is great here. I wouldn't watch this for a while. I maybe would watch this with a friend. Anyways, I just want to talk about Lily Gladstone for 1 second. We all agree, Lily Gladstone's getting this Oscar, right? Like, it'd be crazy if she didn't. Because okay, maybe I'm over exaggerating how well she does in this movie, but I really enjoyed her performance here. Barbie. I'm scared to talk about this film. Anything I say in either direction could get me to have an airstrike dropped on my house and me crushed. The airstrike wouldn't explode, it would just fall on me and I would die. But anyways, I'm gonna talk about it because I still want to give my opinion. That's the whole point. I saw this movie back to back with Oppenheimer, and it was perfect viewing. I understand that this movie isn't directed at me, but I still really enjoyed a lot of it. I think its set design was really cool. I don't think it will win many things. Maybe costume design, but that's fine. I do have some gripes with it though. Number one, this is a lot of stuff I gripe with this movie and more with Nyad, but how did Annette Bening get an Oscar nomination over Margot Robbie? How did that happen? I'm sorry, again, I don't like sports movies, and I didn't like, Nyad was fine. I wouldn't watch it again, but like, Margot Robbie and Barbie is less good than, what? Now that I got that out of the way, I have two actual gripes with this movie. Number one, this movie's good. Yes, but Best Picture? Is this movie Best Picture? I mean, I know there are 10 slots. There are 10 slots. And Barbie is like, it has to get in there because of all of the stuff that it did. I don't know what it did, but it was very women forward. And that's like, politics, okay? But Best Picture? It's not gonna win, I know, but it still kind of is like, come on. Number two, why is Ryan Gosling here? How did him or Mark Ruffalo, who we'll get into in a minute, win over Charles Melton? Why is Charles Melton not here? That's crazy to me. Barbie is a movie that's fine. I enjoyed it for a one-time watch, and I would watch it again with my mother, and my mother is my friend, so we'll put it right there. Poor Things is like if Barbie and Frankenstein had a child, and to be honest, I'm here for it. I actually really enjoyed this movie, especially like the production design and the art direction. It was crazy. I really enjoyed it. It was completely out of left field from every single other thing that I watched. Like the messed up proportions along with like the weirdly colored areas mixed with the fisheye lens, that was dope. That was cool as hell. And the acting was really fun. But once again, Mark Ruffalo, why are you here? Why? I'm sorry, Mark Ruffalo should not have gotten an Oscar nomination for this film. He can't pull off an accent, and again, you have Charles Melton. And actually, Charles Melton is the main, I don't know, like, why is Mark Ruffalo here? Come on! On an actual good acting front, you have Willem Dafoe, who I love. I love me some Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe in this movie and The Lighthouse make me want to watch, like, all of his stuff. God damn. These are good Willem Dafoe movies. I like Willem Dafoe, and I am not something of a scientist myself. Secondly, is Emma Stone. she did like really good in this role. Like just watching her like go from like a brainless child to a fully formed woman who's going to socialist events and performing surgery on people. That was pretty cool. I really liked Emma Stone in this. Once again, Lily Gladstone is gonna win, I hope. But Emma Stone's pretty cool, and I love her in La La Land. And I'm gonna go watch La La Land after this. But I will watch this movie like once a week. I think this movie deserves like a once a week watch. Finally, Oppenheimer. I saw this movie 3 times in theaters. Mind you, each one of those viewings was 3 hours long. That's 9 hours of time. To be fair, I saw Spider-Verse for 14 hours or so, but like, I really enjoyed Oppenheimer. Secondly, the score. Ludwig Göransson, god damn, I love this man. This man, between this and Tenet, he and Hans Zimmer are like rivaling each other. And these two are like my favorite composers right now. And this soundtrack, when it came out, I was listening to it on repeat. Specifically, like Lowly Shoe Salesman. That's like one of my favorite tracks of all movie history. And speaking of that song, let's talk about the actors. Acting in this movie, along with like the significant amount of Big Star's actors, is kind of crazy to me. First off, I want to talk about our boy, Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr., I think, has maybe not one of the biggest ranges, but like he has hit it big twice now. He had Iron Man for, 17 years? And not only that, he proved directly after Iron Man that he could perform a very intense, theatrical, character-focused role. His acting as Strauss is genuinely fantastic. He's going to win this Oscar. What do I need to say? I love him here. And finally, we have Cillian Murphy. Now, Cillian Murphy, before watching The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy was like the obvious, right? I hadn't seen The Holdovers. I was like, damn, Cillian Murphy, head over heels better than all of these people. He just has such an interesting way of going about acting. He also doesn't talk about it 24/7 like some other actors on this list. Brad. I really like Cillian Murphy here. The scene with the stomping, if you don't know what that is, I'm not gonna spoil it, just gives me chills every time I watch it. It's so, I love that scene. But between him and Paul Giamatti, I think it's like a fine. I think Cillian Murphy will win, but I would be very happy if Paul Giamatti were to win. I love both of their performances in these movies. Cillian Murphy does such a great job. He has such a presence on screen. This is a good movie. And 3 hours long. Yeah, I know it's long. It's 20 minutes shorter than The Killers of the Flower Moon. But it doesn't feel, The Killers of the Flower Moon feels so long. This movie is like at a constant pace. It's consistent and it's fast with the entire thing. I really enjoy this movie. Finally, here are the rankings. If you don't agree with some of them, okay, talk to me about it. I actually am interested. I know. I'll watch the movie with you if you want to. Get it? See what I did there? So thank you guys very much for being here with me on day number 1 of Recency Bias. I hope to see you guys this Friday with another video that I put more effort into and worked on for like 8 hours, even though it probably doesn't show. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I've been your host, Silas Jackson. This has been Recency Bias, episode number 3, and I will see you guys in the next one, I hope. Later.